after that, I'm doing, somewhere around 40 to 45,000, but it's still not stable because we're still a generalized agency. We're not niched down yet. Patric's preaching to me as my coach because at that first Rake Master or at the first Lead Snap Mansion Mastermind was when Rake Masters was announced. And I immediately signed up because, I was asking for this, and Patric's now willing to sell his time to us and coach us. So he kept saying, yeah, you need to niche down, you need to niche down. And if we think about this, if you're an agency owner listening to this and you're a general agency, think about surgeons. Do you want somebody that's plastic surgery for, breast augmentation to do your nose job? Probably not. It might not come out looking correctly.
Today we are here with my good friend, one of my closest friends, Spencer Lund, who I have been able to watch the growth of his agency from like front row seats. So it's been pretty awesome. And I'm really excited to have Spencer share his journey. When he started his journey, he was in a very different place, and he's been through a lot of challenging times, and I've watched him traverse through this along the way. He's kept an amazing perspective, somebody that has been dealt with a lot of challenges and come through with a really positive attitude. So Spencer, welcome to the show, man. I'm thrilled to have you here today.
Thanks, Patric. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, man. So Spencer, let's start off. Just tell us a little bit about who you are and some of your background and how you got to own a marketing agency.
Yeah. So Spencer Lund /Hart. I started in the rake and rim business back in 2019. And hey, my marketing agency was born out of accident. At the period of time, I was owning an insurance agency, generating leads for mortgage and mortgage people, realtors, and mortgage brokers, and really found a passion of helping grow people's businesses. I dove deeper in, started taking courses, and then the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, it was like this perfect storm. I personally feel that because contractors were stuck at home and they were able to answer their phones. I wasn't going to the office at that time. And so we were able to grow something that was kind of just a side project into a real business. And we grew it quickly. 2020 of August, we hit six figures, which doesn't sound like a lot, but at the period of time, I was like, holy crap, as a side project, this is something actually pretty cool to do. And so we grew it. And then, as you know, things just kind of got stuck and eventually our paths crossed, Patric. So I didn't start out thinking that my marketing company would become a company. It was just a side thing. And then eventually in 2022, we ended up parting ways with the insurance agency because I wanted to focus full time on the marketing company.
Awesome. So the kind of birth of marketing was you needed to do it for your insurance company to be successful. And then that led into, well, I really like this business model and the way this works and the lifestyle associated with this more than this other one.
Yeah, correct. I mean, the thing about insurance is like every day that you go to the office, it's the same. It hasn't changed in a bajillion years. It's absolutely boring. It's horrible. I was presented when I first, got the opportunity to own a insurance agency as, you're going to be a small business owner. It's going to be great. I learned a ton, but I knew that that wasn't like the final thing. It was just a stepping stone to give me the business knowledge to know I wanted to do something different. And I love the idea of being able to be mobile, to be working wherever laptop lifestyle. My wife and I love to travel. So to be able to, be sitting on a beach in San Diego and have access to, work and hey, I just gotta, there's this unwritten understanding of most of the time when we travel, I got to wake up in the morning and work for a couple hours, and then we can go and enjoy the city, enjoy the beaches, whatever it is that we're at. So that the lifestyle really drew me to it, as well as I personally feel that I can make more of an impact as a marketing agency than as an insurance agent.
Yeah, you're more involved with the clients, right? You're interacting with them, you're building a team, and I feel it a lot as the owner of a marketing agency myself too. So Spencer, you and I, we were introduced to each other through a mutual friend, right?
Yeah.
And tell us that story a little bit, because it's kind of cool how that came together.
Yeah, super interesting. So sometimes we, within this online world, when we don't have something that is ours, we'll borrow. And I borrowed a picture of a heat map. And you guys, you have to understand at this period of time, my knowledge was very little, that there was multiple tools out there of this heat map software.
What is a heat map?
Yeah, so it's this map that shows people where they're ranking within a particular area for a particular keyword. And there, you can go 1 mile radius dots, 2.5, 5, and it really gives this picture to a prospect, to a client, because a lot of times people, oh yeah, I rank number 1, and they're just searching from their office. And of course you rank number 1. That's where you should rank number 1. But 5 miles down the road, they're not even, they're on page 2 of Google. And our mutual friend Justin said, hey man, I see you're using Patric's software. And I said, huh? What are you talking about? He goes, the photo that you just used for your post today, that's my buddy's software. I'm like, to me at this period of time, like I said, I thought everything, all these all looked the same. And he could tell that it was Patric's software. So I said, oh, I don't know Patric. He goes, oh, I figured that you signed up with the Lead Snap. Like, no, I have no clue what that is. So he did the mutual introduction to us on Facebook, and that's history, man. That's where you and I got connected. I started testing Lead Snap when it was, when you're kind of transitioning from lead generated, and I was a beta tester going through using the tool, saying, hey, I don't understand this. Hey, is this the way this is supposed to work? Patric was always really gracious to jump on a call to say, hey, let's dig into this, because I want this tool to be easy to use and the functionality to be exactly what people want. And I really think our friendship blossomed because of the kindness of who Patric is. So,
oh, thank you. Absolutely appreciate it. Yeah. So we got connected. You start using the software, and at the same time you're building your agency. I think at that point, what were you at? Where were you at from an MRR perspective?
Yeah, I had to be right around that $10,000 a month still. I mean, it took a while. I hit that 10K, and it was just lots of difficulty with traction. You might win a new client and lose a client, you know what I mean? And at the period of time, I didn't know really what I was selling. And as we'll talk here in the future, I was selling one-off packages, a website build here, a Google My Business optimization here, SEO package here. And so that made it even more difficult for me to get traction. So I was at probably 10K for a year and a half, somewhere around that period of time.
How long did it take you to go from 0 to 10K?
Well, that happened really quickly. I think I was probably only doing $2,000 or $3,000 a month, right when the pandemic hit. It was just, like I said, it was just this side thing. It was kind of fun to have some extra money coming in. And then when the pandemic hit, going from like the 2 to 3K to the 10K, it seemed like it was really quick. I was like, whoa, this is fast, because people were answering their phone. Contractors, because we were a generalized agency at the period of time, they were scared. The government's now shut you down. They're not knowing how they're going to feed their family. Gosh, what do we do? Let's invest. I got some money from the government with the loan. I'm going to invest this into marketing, because this guy's going to help me grow. So getting from that, that seemed quick from, 2 to 3K to 10K. But then, man, it was kind of rough, because I just didn't know much at this period of time of how do I get from 10K to more money in the bank?
Yeah. What do you think? So we're stuck at 10K for a year and a half or so. And then what allowed you, looking back on things, why do you think you were stuck? And what was the breakthrough that you had that kind of unlocked that growth to the next level?
The breakthrough was just really just putting the pieces together. knowing kind of how other agencies were structuring their packages. I think it was your mentorship. Like, hey, dude, like I've been down this road. You need to zig now. Stop doing that. Really, I just didn't have enough tools. And I know that a lot of us that are in this business have way more tools nowadays, if you're seasoned, than you probably actually need. And there's always people out there that are seeking additional tools. But I really just think it was, when I look back on things, it was just finding my tribe.
You'd been in another coaching group, I think, for a while, right? And you're kind of stuck within that group. And that can be discouraging, I think, when I felt this myself, where I spent a lot of money on a coaching program and it's not working for me. So then it's like, what do you do now? You're like, let me go spend more money on a different program. That's not really where people's mind is. It's like they're snake bitten and they don't know how to move forward, right? And it's kind of like, well, this program, maybe it helped me take a couple steps forward. Maybe it didn't really do anything for me, but it's almost stunted my growth because now I'm scared to try something else.
Yeah. And also at the period of time, I didn't really have a lot of additional cash to be investing, because I wasn't writing any new insurance business. I was stuck with that monthly income coming in. I was still paying on the expenses, but not actually using any of those expenses because I wasn't going to an office. I was stuck at home. And so I think really it's also, like I said, it's finding my tribe to where I felt like there was a group of people that had the same mindset. I always compare the group of rank masters or lead snap or, Patric and the coaching to guys that are running marathons versus the initial group I was in. I felt like it was a bunch of toddlers learning how to walk. So it's a very drastic difference.
It's hard. You don't know. The people who lead these groups a lot of times are great at sales. And, that's what the Catalyst does to us joining the group. And then we get in there and we're not really sure, like, oh, this is what it is. And now I've already committed to this and I'm going to try to make it into something else. So Spencer, where was the next spot? So you kind of went from 0 to 10K, which in my mind, that's for a lot of agencies out there that haven't hit that 10K mark. That's the hardest spot. I think and maybe your story is a little different because you got stuck at 10K for a while, but I think it's harder for a lot of people to go from 0 to 10K than it is to go to 10 to 30. Do you agree with that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would agree. I just didn't, there's that saying that you don't know what you don't know. And that was really what it was. Once I felt like, when you and I connected and I started bouncing, hey, this is my issue. How do I fix this? And those things, I felt like I started to get some traction, and we were able to climb from that 10K to about $30,000 to $35,000 consistent months. And that's when we found our next problem.
Right. So if there was a couple things that you could tell yourself, and I know it's like part of it is just getting the pieces to go back, but I really want to hammer on this for the people that are stuck at 10K. And when you hit 35, what would you go back and tell the 10K Spencer to do differently?
I think for me, as you know, I've never been afraid to just take a leap of faith, whatever you want to call it. Like I've been told by many people I'm the most coachable person. I don't care. Like I'm going to be successful. For me, it was just really having the confidence I was lacking. It's been that confidence piece from just not knowing. And if you just don't know, then you feel like you're lying to these prospects because you just don't know. And it's almost like you're selling a hope and a dream and you don't really believe it yourself. Once I was able to start to get traction and go, okay, these methods work, the sales process works, I can actually do this. And it was like believing in myself. And then having somebody, having coaches in my back pocket to where I could bounce things off. That was where it was like, okay, now we're on to something. And, it's just adding fuel to the fire I felt like I was wandering in a forest, going down trails, but not really with a map before. Versus when you and I connected, it was almost like a trail guide. These are the trails that you need to go to the waterfall versus let's just go walk down some random trails to find a waterfall where there may be or maybe not one there.
Right. It's like you have so much persistence, you're going to find your way through the forest one way or another. But hey, it's a lot easier if somebody has already found the pathway and can just like say here, like go this way, right? Like if I was in New York City and I had to get to LA and I wasn't allowed to use a GPS or a map, I would eventually find my way. But
Yeah.
if someone's like the GPS just makes things faster, right? We can all agree. And sometimes we can look at this and be like, well, a GPS that's going to cost money. Well, it's like, how do you value your time? And then what's the cost of doing it wrong? Like, what's the cost of having months and months go by where you don't have as much revenue and you're still spending all this time and you're stressed and frustrated and life is short. And like, at what point are you like, okay, it makes sense to have somebody that's had these struggles and found their way in the past. It's honestly one of the things that I wish I would have had when I was coming up. I beat my head against the wall way too long.
Well, and the other thing that I didn't have, because the other coaching program I was part of kind of preached very minimal tools. You don't need tools. And I look back on things now, Patrick, and I'm like, you're literally driving this car blind. You don't need tools. Where when I started to get some tools, and that's where you start to know, like, okay, I may not have the trail guide showing me this is the way that you're supposed to go, but now I have some tools. It's a little bit of a GPS, and I can kind of figure this out on my own.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of that. It's really weird to run a digital marketing agency and not have like tools. And there's like automations and AI and all these different things. It's just like you're going to get left behind without that stuff. You don't have the right data. You can't make data-driven decisions. And we even use it. I think you use it as well as a part of your sales process, right? Okay, so let's fast forward now. We've gone from 10K up to 35K. So I think that that happened before Rank Masters even started. Like you had kind of made that jump prior to that, and that was just us having conversations and kind of like an unstructured coaching capacity, right?
Yeah, of course. So I remember I had reached out. I had been stuck right around that 35K mark, and I just didn't know. And as Patrick always talks about, growth is a stair, like it's stair step. It's not like this gradual increase. A lot of times sometimes it's even going down and then getting that next stair. And I remember I reached out to you and I was like, hey man, like, can I pay you to coach me? There's some things I need help with. I just can't get past this. And you're like, well, what is it that you're struggling with? Number one. And number two, I don't have time to coach right now. I'm not offering that as a service, but let me see what I can do to help you. So Patric helped me. We are like, okay, great. And the next thing you know, the first lead snap event was offered down in Miami, Florida. And I remember we're specifically sitting. I remember this like it's clear as day. It's kind of creepy, actually. But I remember we were sitting downstairs in this round table event. It's towards the end of the event. I think it's the last VIP session of the day or of the event. And we're kind of going around. We're talking about things. And I was talking about selling one-off packages or one-off items, a la carte options. Hey, I'm selling this website for $4,000. I'll do an optimization for $6,000. And Patrick goes, wait a minute. He's like, I don't know how I haven't caught this yet. Like this is how you've been doing things for the last year and a half. I was like, yeah, of course. Like, isn't this how everybody else is doing things? And everybody is just like, oh my God, dude. Like it's such an elementary thing when you start looking back on it, but I just didn't know any better. And I was working my ass off to get to that 35K, if you could only imagine, because not only did I have to sell the guy on the website, we'd build the website. He's like, oh, it's great. And then I'd have to sell him on, optimizing the GMB or SEO package or, paid ads or whatever it is. And it's like, you're having to sell this guy multiple times, which Hey, it probably helped me perfect my sales skills, but it most definitely added a ton of stress to my life. That event was when we kind of uncovered that, and then we were able to put packages together, and that kind of projected the next step.
So basically, we discovered, and what I always say at these events, what I've heard from my mentors is like, it's not what's taught, it's what's caught at these events, right? And that means like you had to say something in the right setting where we had the opportunity to unpack it, and then we discovered like you're selling one-off services, so it's hard to build recurring income if like it starts with just a one-off service, and then we've got to sell them on the recurring. And we basically said, let's not do that anymore. Let's include the website builds as a part of the recurring process here. And we can use that to show value. Then we have like income that we can count on every month. We know where we're going to be. We can start to hire on that. We can we can like do profit planning and forecasting and all this stuff based on that, right? That was a big aha moment for you.
Yeah. And the thing that I never realized until we figured this out was there was conversations that I would have, and I always just kind of chalked it up as the prospect, the client just was not understanding things. You built my website, but nobody's calling me. Like, and then I realized we built the Ferrari for you, but we just haven't put the gas in it. And if we don't put the gas in the Ferrari, it's not going to go anywhere. A lot of people understand that analogy now. And it's made things a lot easier now that we're packaging things up because the results are different than when we were doing the one-offs. Because just people just didn't understand. Like, I'm like, this is a website. We built you the website. It's like, do you not understand? It's just that disconnect from the tech side of things that I guess I assumed people knew, but they just didn't.
Yeah, it's easy to make assumptions when you're like in the weeds on this stuff on a daily basis, and we're working with it, and even the vocabulary that we use as marketing agencies, we have to change the way we speak when we go and talk to a contractor because they're focused on their own stuff. If they use the words from their industry, we have no idea what that is until we start to niche down and really become experts in it, right?
Right.
So Spencer, we went from 10K to 35K. We discovered that we haven't organized. We're selling one-off services. We're moving everything now to recurring. So we no longer do one-off. Everything has to be part of our recurring model, right? Mm-hmm. So after that, business take off again, or what happened next?
Yes, I think after that, I had to really kind of retrain myself on how we sell, what the packages were, how to present things, how to make sure that the offer, was, a sexy offer. And I think we kind of stayed a little bit at that number. There's like lots of ups and downs. And then finally we get some traction. We're doing consistent. I think it was, if we fast forward, it was about 6 months after that. I'm doing, somewhere around 40 to 45,000, but it's still not stable because we're still a generalized agency. We're not niched down yet. Patric's preaching to me as my coach because at that first Rake Master, or at the first Lead Snap Mansion Mastermind, was when Rake Masters was announced. And I immediately signed up because, I was asking for this, and Patric's now willing to sell his time to us and coach us. So he kept saying, yeah, you need to niche down. And if we think about this, if you're an agency owner listening to this and you're a general agency, think about surgeons. Do you want somebody that's, let's just say, does plastic surgery for, breast augmentation to do your nose job? Probably not. It might not come out looking correctly. And so when you think about that and you need to become an expert within a field, being a generalist, you can't be that guy to be an expert in, landscaping or roofing and all these other niches out there. So we had success, and we had 2 clients, one in Manhattan and one in Baton Rouge, that were insulation contractors that we'd had some really good success with. And it was a hard thing for me to commit to because I just didn't know which direction. And this is one of the biggest struggles I think that Patric talks to, students about and people that he comes across is a lot of times people just don't know, like, what's my niche? What should I go after? Like, what is the one thing I should focus on? And so I remember it was about 6 months after that, I had, at the next Rank Masters event, I had identified myself as Spray Foam Spencer jokingly in front of everybody. I said, I'm going to be Spray Foam Spencer. And I dedicated myself to that and building a brand within around the spray foam industry.
That's a big decision. And it's kind of like, I remember some of the conversations that I've had with you, and I've had these conversations with other people too, where it's like, wow, I've got to limit myself to this one niche now. Well, how is that going to allow me to have more opportunity if there's such a smaller amount of it's a smaller audience now that I'm targeting? Like how is that going to work? That can't result in more business, right? And I think we had this conversation a little bit too, right?
Yeah, and honestly, like when we first niched down, I know you and I had many conversations where I'm like, dude, this isn't working, Patric. Like, I'm trying to break into these Facebook groups. I'm trying to provide value. Man, they're blocking my posts. I have people messaging me like, who the heck do you think you are? Are you a scammer? Are you this? Are you that? I'm like, well, no, this is what we do. I'm trying to, we're new to this niche, but we've been marketing for years. And it was really kind of strange. There was actually one of my current clients, and I jokingly say he was like a pit bull at the front of the guardian gates of a spray foam group on Facebook. And I remember he messaged me and he was like, hey bro, tell me about you or something like that. I'm like, well, wow, like kind of like aggressive. And so I kind of told him, and he's like, oh, okay, well, there's a lot of people asking who you are and why you're messaging them, and they're seeing your posts and this and that. And I'm like, well, I'm an open book. I'll share whatever with you. This is our passion of ours. And eventually fast forward, he becomes a client of ours, but I jokingly, and I remember I messaged him and I was like, hey man, I don't know if you're just kidding around when you and I first started chatting, or if you're like truly trying to be a dick. And he goes, no, I was being a dick. He's like, but I also wanted to make sure that you passed like all the, the check marks on things. And so I just kept providing value. I just kept like showing up, basically just showing up, saying, hey, look, like, I know you're trying to run me off, but I'm not going to just be easily ran off. And we just kept, slowly getting clients within the niche. And eventually we become kind of I don't want to say one of the most trusted marketing agencies within the niche.
Yeah, you've got the authority positioning, right? That says, hey, we've got these clients, case studies, we've got our whole team is built around this. It goes back to that kind of surgeon analogy that you were talking about. Imagine that you're the owner of the spray foam company and you need a marketing company, and there's two of them, and one says like, hey, we work in all these different niches. We've got tons of experiences. We've done roofing and plumbing and HVAC and concrete, and we've done some insulation. And another one's like, all we do is insulation. All of our reps are in this same niche, right? And hey, I see that you have these, we have 9 friends in common here on Facebook, and 5 of those people are our clients. You should talk to them about us. Like, what does that do when this person's trying to make a decision? The analogy I always use for picking a niche is like, what restaurant is the biggest in the world? It's McDonald's, right? They do the same thing everywhere they go. They've niched down into something. They have a playbook that works, and they just run it again and again. That makes it scalable. And this is what we do. You know the types of leads. You probably have, writers that are familiar with the content. Maybe there's spots that are going to be stronger links, right? You understand the pain points. You've got the testimonials, everything. You build out your brand. It's all about positioning. Once you have the positioning, you're in a great spot to close people.
We speak the same language now. So
right.
before we were Plant Powered Marketing, that was my brand when we were a generalized agency. Now we're Spray Foam Genius Marketing, and when we get on the phone call with a spray foam contractor and we're talking about, hey, how many rigs you have, which are the trailers that are outfitted with all the tools and stuff in it, And then they go, oh, okay, so you have one rig, you guys doing around 1 million? Oh, we're close. Okay. They say right about 1 million is about where you need to buy another one. Yep, we're about ready to buy another one. And then you say, how many sets you guys do, which is the part A and the part B of the foam that actually, when you combine them, actually makes a spray foam. And they're going, oh, this guy knows his crap versus there's no way that I could have known this about roofing and landscaping and decks and fences and all these other niches. When I get on the phone, they know they're dealing with an expert.
Yeah, it's amazing positioning. So, Spencer, when you first started, you were struggling. When you first niched down, it's like, hey, this isn't working. And clearly knowing the end of the story or, the current spot of the story, it's working. Like, what facilitated that change? When did it start to happen? When did that dip start to kind of when did you start to feel the upswing on that?
You just encouraged me to keep at it. I remember one of the things that really changed for us was a post in that same Facebook group that people kind of were really difficult to get into. And it was me looking for suppliers and vendors. And when I started looking for suppliers and vendors, that conversation's totally different, you guys. It's more about, hey, how can I help you? And how can I get you leads that make you, the trusted person to buy product from? And that conversation is amazing, because if I can start to help grow a spray foam vendor suppliers company, because their customer is buying more product from them, they love me as a marketer because it's going to put more money in their pocket. Plus, who is the person that has the best relationship with these people? They're probably talking to these contractors on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. Hey, how's it going? Oh, you need another order. Hey, how's the family? Hey, how was your family vacation? They have that conversation where I'm this outsider trying to get into that circle. And the great thing is I had built relationships with vendors and suppliers where they're now referring me going, hey, sounds like you could use some help with some marketing. Have you ever talked with Spencer from Spray Foam Genius? No, I haven't. Let me make an intro for you. So that really helped, like, the projection. You also encouraged me to join up with the associations. So one of them is a Spray Foam Association that I signed up for. I think it's, I don't know, under $150 a year. And really, it doesn't really mean much because we're on their website. There's nothing really that comes from that. But the great thing is that then we saw their have at a convention in Las Vegas, Nevada. And this is when the magic happens. So we showed up in Vegas. I had myself, my 17-year-old content producer, and my 17-year-old son. And we were all dressed out in Einstein outfits. And I could
Einstein, because you're the Spray Foam Genius.
Yeah, we're the Spray Foam Genius. Our logo is Einstein with a spray foam gun in his hand. And we showed up. And I can tell you, I'll just say the spray foam contractor niche is kind of untapped when it comes to marketing agencies or people that are really marketing. There's people that help spray foam contractors that do marketing, but they're not positioning themselves as the trusted marketing company. And so we showed up there. Every little party thing that was going on, every event, they had a whole bunch of things set up going on that wasn't just part of the expo and the vendors. There was, a kickoff party. There was a spray foam competition in the parking lot where people were being judged on how good the spray foam was. But we were in Einstein gear the whole time. I don't think we took it off except when we were going back to the Airbnb. And people, I mean, it was uncomfortable, Patrick. I know you've heard this story, but it was uncomfortable. People were just staring at us like, what the heck? And these are people in the casino because we had to walk through the casinos to get to where the expo was. And people were just looking like, what the heck's going on? And on our shirt, we had a QR code that said, hey, are you looking to rank your spray foam business higher on Google? People could scan that. We did also what was a gimmicky thing. The Spray Foam Association, there was a gal that really didn't like this. What we were doing was we were standing in the kind of like the transition hallway from the casino and the expo, the convention. and we had a bucket full of cash, like lots of money. And we were just, like, we had a sign that said chat for cash. We were filming it. And people come up and we were just asking silly questions like, hey, Patric, nice to meet you. I'm Spencer from Spray Foam Genius. Where are you guys located? Oh, okay, Nebraska. Tell me, like, if you could have your spray foam smell like something, what would you choose? Oh, I'd choose lavender. Oh, why? Well, that's one of my favorite scents. Oh, okay, cool. Have you ever sprayed a famous person's house? Oh, I sprayed the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys once. Just having these friendly banter, right? Hey, great chatting with you. Let's reach into the money bucket and see how much money you can pull out. And there was like hundreds in there. There was 50s, 10s, 20s, and there was a $100 bill that was marked 1,000. And people were just loving it, man. People were smiling, walking away. I think
How much money was actually in this bucket?
It was $4,000 in
$4,000 in this bucket.
Yeah.
And they just like a handful of what they can get, essentially.
No, they're pulling out $1, one bill.
One bill at a time.
One bill, yeah.
Okay.
But the first 3 people that pulled out bills were hundreds. And I was crapping myself because one of those 100s was marked 1,000. And I'm like, man, that kind of like, everybody knew there was a potential winning $1,000 in there. And I had to check the bill because it was wrote 1,000 on the $100 bill. And I had the 1,000 in my pocket. And I was like, whoa, man, but we were also collecting lead data. They were scanning the QR code, going through, hey, would you like to have a conversation at a later time? This gal from the Spray Foam Association, she didn't really like this too much. And she shut us down. And instead of me causing a whole ruckus, I was like, you know what? Let's pack up, boys. Let's go and enjoy the convention. So we walked around the convention, just having, a normal conversation. But people were coming up to us going, what's this Einstein gear all about? Well, we're the Spray Foam Geniuses. We do marketing. Oh, after that, man, that was the best month and a half, 2 months that the company's had.
So it was really, we created all these, we got all these leads at the event, right? And then you guys come back and you're just like following up like crazy with these people, booking calls with them. Is that how it unfolded?
I mean, really, it was a piece that I forgot to mention is that we also geotagged the convention center with Facebook ads. And the Facebook ad was basically me telling people like, hey, we're going to be around giving away the money, blah, 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 blah. So like even all these outside events that we were attending, people were like, where's the money bucket? And I was like, well, I didn't want to bring it to this event because I didn't want to, I'm not trying to cause problems with the people that are putting this event on. But at the convention center, not a problem. We'll be there giving away the money. It was really about the buzz and people seeing us that because we weren't really able to collect a lot of lead forms because we got shut down so quick. I think it was within the first hour and a half of the first day of the convention happening in the event in the event center. But it was really about the brand image and people also seeing us. Here's the craziest thing too. After that event, people were Facebook messaging me saying, hey, I saw you in Vegas. I was like, oh, cool. Why didn't you come up and say hi? Man, every time I looked, you were surrounded by people. Now, my brain, you guys, tells me something totally different. My brain tells me, because I was uncomfortable and I was also like, I kind of already talked to a lot of the vendors, but like you're still trying to walk around because of the aspect of like you're quote unquote advertising for yourself. And there was times that I felt like I was just standing by myself. And like the kids, the boys got kind of tired because they're like, this dude's sitting here talking to these people for 20 minutes. Dude, we're out of here. We're going to go walk around the show. So they were walking around too. People were just like, they were like, yeah, we saw you guys, at the Vegas event. That's really what it was. I felt, I mean, yeah, maybe we had some contact with people that had an opportunity to reach into the money bucket, but it was really about the brand recognition and building the brand.
Yeah. What came out of that event? Like this was the best month and a half of your agency afterwards. And there's a lot that's hiding in the words that you've said here with the overcoming the uncomfortability, putting this gear on, this Einstein outfit and walking through there and having like contractors stare at you like this guy's dressed up for Halloween, right?
What's going on here?
What's going on with this dude, right? It's like,
how crazy.
Broke through. You kind of broke through the hard exterior that like contractors sometimes have like tough guy, They're like, they're working hard. They're working with their hands. They're like manly men, and you're in a costume, right? So, but you were able to kind of break through this hard exterior there. And so what was the actual growth that happened from this month and a half? What did that look like from a dollars perspective?
Yeah, so we went to the convention. I remember the report that we had. So it was beginning part of May, and we were right around 60K. So we had grown from that 45 to 60 consistently. And then right after that event, that month and a half, the next 2 months, we'd gone from 60 to 72. And then that next month after that was 92,000.
92. So really, it was almost like it was more than a 50% increase. You're at 60 in the like kind of the traction that you can attribute toward this conference took you to 92. So 32,000, more than 60, more than 50% growth from this one conference.
Yeah. I mean, we were signing up probably 4 to 5 clients a week.
Wow.
And I was doing 100% of the sales up until really almost basically that for that whole time until I just started to feel burnt out.
What did the team look like when we were at, let's say like 30K? How'd you have things structured?
You're talking about like org chart?
Yeah. Like what were the different positions that were in your company, the people that were helping you out?
Yeah. I mean, we still had like the fulfillment guys, we'll just say we have more of them now, more developers, more G&B guys, things of that nature. But I think we had somewhere around 20 people on team. Now we're 33 strong worldwide now. Employees all over. We have employees in South America, employees in Pakistan, employees in the States. So we've grown a ton. We've got a lot more, I guess I would say a lot more specialists on the team. People that, account managers. I've hired a personal assistant. We have an actual salesperson now because I've stepped away from selling, and hired an actual full-time SEO team for just Spray Foam Genius. So that's all I do every day is basically wake up and eat and breathe Spray Foam Genius and growing us as the trusted brand. Right before we got on this call, my team had sent over, basically we're ranking in pretty much every major city in California now. If you type in, spray foam marketing, and we're just continuing building out location pages to dominate that in every state that we want to be in.
I love it. So let's talk about the ways that you can bring clients in now. So obviously we had the event, and that kind of like brought this rush of people, and you can attend more events. So that's kind of like one way. Another way is we've got the SEO we've got a niche down marketing site, so we can start to rank for things like spray foam marketing. So that's a second way. Are there additional ways that you're bringing in clients? And if so, what are those?
Yeah. So one of the things that we did in Vegas, which was really, really fun, since I had my content guy, and that was kind of the purpose, was him just to film content so that we could use it. So if you could imagine being on the Vegas Strip dressed up in Einstein, shooting basically, reels, commercials, short clips, targeting spray foam contractors. So we took that and we really ran with it and used that for Facebook ads as well. And we've continually increased our business by targeting spray foam contractors, because it's like, I mean, when you see this guy in an Einstein outfit and he's, what is this spray foam genius guy? Let me click on the video and listen to this. So we're doing, Facebook ads. A lot of referral stuff's coming in now because we have built a brand. And it's crazy. Almost every week we're getting hit up by vendors and suppliers. This week I've had one actual meeting, second meeting with a vendor. They have like 5 or 6 states right now that they have territory, and we're having a conversation about how we can help grow their business, which is the same avatar as us. So it's very, very simple to help grow their business. But I mean, I even yesterday got hit up in the inbox by a vendor saying, "Hey, do you just do spray foam contractors, or do you work with vendors and suppliers as well?" No, we do both. So he's getting on a call with me next week. So a lot of that stuff is just naturally happening. because we built this brand, which I wouldn't be in this position if I hadn't niched down to build a brand.
Yeah, that's that joint venture pipeline, that joint venture sales channel that you're typing into.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these people can be an amazing referral source for you. I'm in concrete, and this is one of the best referral sources that we had is we created a relationship with the supplier, and that supplier wants to have their contractors sell more. So they need to be in the hands of a good marketing company. When they sell more, they buy more materials, right? So it's just like a really great symbiotic relationship. So
one thing I forgot to mention, Patric, is since the last event, we deployed. I know you had Travis Weathers, episode number 1 on the pod, and one of the things that he taught at the mastermind was a cold DM method, and we're using that cold DM method to probably get an additional 2 to 3 like inquiries, people that are raising their hand to have interest in to have a conversation with us a day, just by cold DMing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We're using that in our agency now too, right? And the question always is with your agency is like, here's a strategy. Can we make this work? We've made it work. How do we scale it now? Like, how do I pull myself out of the strategy? So if it's tied to your Facebook account, it's a little bit harder. How have you handled that?
I put together an SOP and trained my my assistant, and that's part of her task every day. She's inside my account, and she's she already had access to it because there's times that she's managing my inbox for Facebook messages, and then that's part of her tasks on a daily basis. It's to get in there, connect with people, shoot out the messages, and then as people respond back, then I just take over the conversation.
Yeah, this is exactly what we're doing in my agency with my assistant. The wrinkle that I put on it, just because there's value tied to my Facebook account is we set up a virtual computer that is logged into Facebook, so she doesn't have my credentials, and we don't have to worry about IP restrictions, right? So that it's within the United States. So,
got it.
Yeah. Any other strategies that you're using to land clients?
Nothing that really sticks out. We're constantly always testing, checking out other ways of doing things. But there's nothing really that really sticks out right now. For us.
Spencer, you do a lot of personal branding though too. Beyond the stuff that you filmed in Las Vegas, you've got like all kinds of reels and stuff. You're constantly putting stuff out there. Has that contributed? Do you feel like that gives you more authority and credibility?
Yeah. So back in December, we started just doing social content in a buddy's podcast studio, and a lot of the content that we put out has nothing to do with even marketing or spray foam. Just because I feel like I'm restricted by being in a podcast studio to be able to show how the stuff that you would normally see out there with your marketing agencies, like, hey, this is how you do this, and they kind of walk you through how to do something on the Google Business Profile or SEO or whatever the case is. Being in a podcast studio, my main passion is really sharing about mindset, manifestation, things that I've used to overcome challenges in my life, and talking about just life in general and how do we continue to keep pushing forward when times get tough. And there's a lot of people that will shoot me a message that want to do business with me because they say, I see you all over the place. I saw this latest TikTok, or I saw this latest, Instagram reel. It's building that know, like, and trust that Chris Moore talks about. And really, people feel like they know who I am just because of these social clips that I put together. Or they say, hey, man, how can I get on the podcast? Like, oh, it's not a podcast just yet. But stay tuned, you guys. There is going to be something that's coming down the pipeline here soon. But that is really, really, really helped with having another way of just bridging that gap to get clients into the agency. Yeah.
I think as you kind of pair having all this social media content out there with the fact that you're constantly requesting friendship with other people that are in your niche. So you request it, we send out the DM, maybe they hey, maybe that connects with them, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's not the right time, but you're also creating this content that they can still consume and they can learn to know, like, and trust you over time because you have content, you have quality content that's going out there, right?
Yeah.
So, Spencer, what do you think? Like, we're in this group together, we're in Rank Masters together. There's students that are kind of all over the place in there. If you look, you've kind of come from where they are to where you are now, going from 10K to 92K, like over 9Xing your MRR in the course of about a year and a half, right? And really 50% of it in the last like 4 months or something. So what's different about you, and like, what are they not doing that you are doing? What do you think is like, they've been taught the same things in that group, and these are smart people. They're people that are easy to get along with. What's going on with what you did differently?
I think for me, I'm not afraid to fail. I would much rather try something and fail than to wonder what if. And I put a lot of pressure on myself. You know, you and I have had some real personal, intimate conversations, and me with my personal growth. I want to build a legacy. I want to change generational wealth. I want to be able to provide for my kids. I want to give them memories and things that I didn't have. And that's the driving factor for me. And I think a lot of times people sit and they just, even though they have all the tools in their tool belt from the coaches, they sit there and they just don't take action. I'm the guy that's going to go and jump off the cliff and, you know, hope to God the parachute opens and that I survive. And if I don't survive or if the parachute doesn't open, at least hopefully I survive and I figure out why the parachute didn't open. And then I make those changes. And the road, this entrepreneurial road, agency owner road is most definitely not for the faint of heart. And for me, it's really about trust. I hired coaches like Patric and Chris and Jeff and other coaches that I hired in order to cut that period of time of me wandering, you know, like we talked about the trails, you know, trying to figure out how to get to wherever I'm going. And because I've hired these people, you either have two choices, I feel. You either trust in the process and listen to them and actually do what they tell you to do, or what's the purpose of you actually paying for them to consult you and tell you how to do something? And I understand that you and myself are not like a lot of other people. We're different. And sometimes it just doesn't make sense why people don't take action. But for me, I would much rather die taking action. And even my wife, Jen, she knows, she tells me all the time, if somebody can figure this out and figure out how to make this work, it's going to be you. A lot of times I think, even for myself, being self-employed doesn't mean that I wake up when I want to wake up, maybe, you know, drink my morning coffee, lay around, maybe I'll go to the gym. No, like I still treat being self-employed after all these years like it's a job that I'm punching the clock. And for my mind, that's what keeps me going, is that I wake up every day with a purpose and knowing, like, okay, it's time to go grind. It's time to go work. It's time to go get this money. Versus I think a lot of times people, and I don't know, I don't fully understand it. It's like they just don't treat entrepreneurship like it's a job, like you're clocking in and clocking out. And then it's very easy to get sucked down the road of where you're doing busy work, but you're actually not moving the needle in your agency. So those are the things that I've noticed in the past. The one thing that I always feel is I may not be the smartest person in the room, but I know for damn well that I'm going to outwork you. I'll outwork everybody. And there's something to be said about that, is that I'm going to grind until I'm successful, and I'm going to take some bumps along the road and continue to figure out how to fix whatever breaks. It's the lessons.
Right. What I've noticed is there's a strong correlation with the people that get what they want in this kind of relentless attitude. The relentless attitude ultimately comes from a confidence in, like, I know if I stick with this, I'm going to eventually get there. And I think for a lot of these people, maybe life has they've taken a lot of bumps along the way, and they don't have this belief, this like unwavering belief that if I stick with this, I'm going to get what I want. So then they don't put in the same level of effort because it feels like maybe this won't work out for me. Maybe Spencer is different, and this is going to be a waste of time for me. So I don't really want to go all in. I'm just going to stick my toe into the pool, and hopefully I'll see some good signs, and then I'll go all in at that point. And then they never see it, and they go on to the next thing, and the next thing doesn't work out, and they're never all in on anything. Do you notice that pattern?
Of course. And for me, I'm the guy that jumps into the lake not knowing how to swim, knowing that I'm going to figure out how to swim. And that's just the confidence in myself. Like, I think that goes back to my childhood of the one thing that I usually find in entrepreneurship, it's not always, but typically you find people that didn't have a great upbringing and people that kind of, they're used to challenges and they're used to the environment changing. And for me, I thrive on that. As an insurance agency owner, it was boring every day. Now I wake up and Google could have updated their algorithm, and now it's a totally different game. It's like, oh yeah, baby, let's do this. Let's do this. I'm ready. Let's put on the gloves because it's time to fight Google and figure this out. So I think a lot of times people, I don't know if there's just not that killer instinct. I'm super competitive, a former college athlete. So I want to win. I don't like losing. And I'm also a control freak when it comes to that. It's like, I want to control this. And if I can't figure out how to win, then I don't feel like, I'm within control. And as well, is my past careers, I had somebody that was always dangling the carrot saying, hey, if you got to, if you hit this metric, we're going to give you a pay increase. And then I hit that metric and then nothing would pan out. And the one thing I love about this journey is that I control my destiny. If I wake up and there's not enough money in the bank account, there's one person to blame, and that's myself. And at the end of the day, that money buys me memories, the freedom to do what I want, not about the material pieces.
I love that. It's the same viewpoint that I have is like, we between the different companies we've had some good financial opportunities, and we haven't used that to buy a bunch of fancy things. We've done that from time to time, but it's been the experiences that we've created, spending 2 years traveling around the world, spending a year in the RV, living in all these cool different cities. And, we were in the Bahamas last month on my buddy's private plane, right? So those amazing memories, taking my dad to his first Stanley Cup hockey game. And I took him to he graduated from University of Michigan, have the opportunity to take my dad to Michigan, Ohio State football game. It's like the bucket list items, right? So kind of looking back, this clearly has been a ton of personal growth that's happened for you in this last couple years. What were those actual lessons there? We understand that, hey, it's like, we know that success is tied to grit and resilience. And we can say that and people can hear it. And for whatever reason, for most of the people, it hits the force field and it doesn't actually permeate into their brain. That means you have to be all in for this to work. And you can't do this thing half-hearted and then expect you can't be amateur time effort and expect professional results. What I've noticed is the hardest part of being a coach is not to explain the tactical stuff and how it works of okay, you should get this assistant, or here's the SEO strategy. Here, that stuff I can teach and everyone can get that. The hard part is getting people to get past their own mental baggage.
Yeah.
And you, with the upbringing that you had and the struggles that you've had, I've seen a ton of personal growth. I would love to hear what you think So if you could look back on 2 or 3 moments over the last 2 years and be like, I had to learn this lesson to be able to go to the next level. And then I had to learn this lesson.
When something I haven't shared on here is the beginning part of 2020, my wife ended up getting sick with COVID, and she was 80% bedridden for the first year. She's what's known as a COVID long hauler. She's permanently disabled from COVID. And there was, I don't know, I'd probably say about month 2, when she's laying in a bed, I have a ton of stress on me. I decided to do a 75 hard program. And I did that, and I completed it, as well as the same time I gave this mindset thing a chance. Growing up in a household, I always talk about we were financially poor, but also mindset poor. Like my parents, you if you've ever been around people that tell you one thing but don't really show you, you can be anything you want to be. Meanwhile, they've been staying at the same job they worked at for 30 years. You're like, okay, this doesn't make sense to me. So I never really, I thought mindset was bullshit. It was bullshit. And Jen getting sick almost gave me permission to actually just say, you know what? Like, what if it's not? And I started really believing in it. And there was things that started to actually line up, and I started to see the things that weren't negative. Like I started to actually see positive things happening, even though it was bred in a negative situation. I started to see these positive things start to line up. And then I was introduced to manifestation, and like, okay, seems a little bit voodoo, but let's try this thing. And I had a coach that really helped me see the light of manifestation with a Tesla. And 11 months later, I had manifested a Tesla. I'm like, holy crap! Like this is real. And so for me, it's really just been, in a very short period of time, within 4 years of learning about mindset, manifestation, and like you control your destiny. Like sitting there being a victim and carrying this old baggage that you grew up with is not going to get you to where you need to be. And I just had to buy in, Patrick. I bought in and was like, hey, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm just going to be back at square one if this doesn't work. And so buying into actually giving yourself a chance. And I don't mean like sitting there in your bedroom being lazy as heck and going, I'm going to manifest a $1 million mansion and not doing shit. Like I'm talking about manifesting and also working your ass off, going, okay, I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to, the vision boards. We're all familiar with vision boards. And I always kind of felt like people did it. It was like almost like an arts and crafts project, right? Somebody's doing arts and crafts. We're going to cut out some pictures and go, ooh, that would be great if that happened. But nothing of that, none of that ever happened. I ended up doing a vision board and starting to like be able to check things off on that vision board, going, holy crap, this is actually working. And then, as I bought in, it's changed my life. It really has. I joke, and we talk about, my wife even talks about this, that Spencer 2.0 was born in the middle of the pandemic, and I'm growing a lot. Obviously, I think like every one of us, we still have work to do. I'm continually working on self-improvement, which that was nothing that was even in the radar before the pandemic. So whatever that looks like for you, I mean, it's totally different for me. It's starting my morning with a morning walk in the morning, which I didn't know there was any science when I started doing that. It was just something I carried over from the 75 hard program, to also spending every Friday afternoon in the woods, hanging out in a hammock and decompressing and doing Japanese forest bathing and really reconnecting to Mother Nature. Those are things that really, I know it sounds crazy, but it's really helped me be able to continue to be pushing as an entrepreneur and be where I am today.
I mean, this is awesome. This stuff that you shared here with this, it's like, it's great to have a guest here who's being so like open and vulnerable about the things that they've had to overcome, and kind of speak to this. You, I think, lost, while Jen had long haulers COVID, so like pretty much like 80% disability.
Mm-hmm.
You lost 4 family members, I think it was, in the course of, was it 4?
4 in the last 16 months.
or the last 16 months. So it was like, what family members were these?
Yeah, so my aunt, my mom's sister, she ended up passing away from cancer. 3 weeks after she passed away from cancer, my mom took her own life. And that was after, myself having to set some boundaries. And I hadn't spoken with my mom in about a year because her mental health had gotten so bad during the pandemic that she was toxic. And the one thing that, I mean, the pandemic it was, yes, I had a lot of challenges during the pandemic, and trust me, in the middle of the time, in the middle of the storm, I didn't see the blessing of what was happening. But if you could look at a situation where you've been surrounded by a toxic person for your whole life, and then the pandemic happens to where you can't be around that person, and really it's maybe once in a while a phone call, hey, how are things going? You really start to realize how toxic that person is, and that person happened to be my own mother. So she ends up taking her life. And then my sister passes away from a 4-year battle of cancer. And then it was, I want to say maybe 3 months after that, my cousin, which is my aunt that had passed away, her first daughter, drops dead of a heart attack outside the movie theater. And like, I look back on things, Patrick, and I don't even know if I processed one death, and 3 of them have, stacked up there. And I'm really left right now with only 3 relatives actually. A father that I don't really talk with much. He's never really been part of my life. My cousin, that's my cousin that passed away's sister, and then my uncle, which is my mom and my aunt's brother. Those are the only relatives I have left that are actual true family. And
True blood relatives.
Blood. Yeah. And for me,
Your children.
I realize I have my kids. I look at, friends like Patric as my family. That those are people that I value our relationship and friendship as friends, but more as family members for me. So yeah, I mean, there's been challenging times. The one thing for me is I can't quit. I quit now. I'm quitting on my family. I'm quitting on my kids. I'm quitting on my wife. Yeah. Like, I quit now. Just keep pushing.
Right. Spencer, I don't know if this is true because it's obvious that you have a lot of grit, but looking from the outside about you going through this stuff while also being aware of these healthy habits that you have, like walking every day and every Friday, the Force Friday, right? This is you go and spending several hours in nature on a hammock out in the woods, completely disconnected from like tech and this kind. What role do you think that played in your ability to kind of move through some of these things?
Yeah, there's a lot of science behind it, and even just putting the science aside, it's really about the feelings for me. It's really what I find is my morning walk it's my time. It's my time to go out there. I listen to podcasts. A lot of the content that I was filming in the beginning would come from just ideas that got sparked on my morning walk, listening to, Ed Milet and some of these, business, Gary Vee's podcast, stuff like that. So, some of that stuff would spark from there. Same thing when I'm laying out in a hammock, as much as I'm trying to disconnect and not be on my phone. A lot of times when I'm out there, because I'm not surrounded and I talk about the noise that all of us have, tons of noise. Oh, I got to check that email. Oh, I got to start the laundry. Oh, I got to do the dishes. Like all this stuff. I give myself the freedom to not now. But some of the greatest things that I think about within my agency and my business will spark out there, and I'll just make a note on a notepad and then go back to chilling. But I do know there has been, over the course of the last week, I've been doing this now 4.5 years, almost every Friday that I'm here. It doesn't matter, rain or shine. I'm in the Pacific Northwest and it rains a lot here. So I'm out there, even if it's pouring down rain. Nothing's better than rain hitting my rain fly that's on the top of my hammock and listening to that and listening to the birds chirp. But there was periods of time where we've had bad forest fires. We've had like the worst air conditions in the world. And I hadn't been able to get out there in 3 or 4 weeks because of that. And I literally started to feel sick. Like I was ill from not getting out there. So to answer your question, I know it was a little bit lengthy. I know for a fact it's helped me. Those two things have helped me get through things, and it does help keep my stress level down for sure. So in order to keep your stress level down, you have to figure out how do you decompress? What is it? Is it going to the gym? Is it going on a run? Is it going for a bike ride? Is it just sitting in nature? Is it whatever it is? You need to figure that out because the world, the entrepreneurial journey will eat you up.
Yeah, you absolutely have to have healthy habits. One of the things I realized, I don't know why it took me so long to realize this, as an entrepreneur, the work there'll always be more of it, right? It's always going to be more things that you can do, more strategies, more ideas. And if you're waiting until the work is done before you take care of yourself, that time, well, it's not going to come, right? Mm. You've got to build these habits in, these healthy habits. And, there's this idea that I used to struggle with. I do my workout in the morning too. I like to go to the gym or go for a run in the morning. And there's all these things in the morning that I think of that I can be doing. And it's like, I realize that if I do this now, if I go and exercise now and I meditate and do these different things in the morning, the rest of the day, I'm able to be more productive. And I 100% get that time back, and I get it back in a way where I'm healthier on a daily basis and I'm happier. I'm more focused. I'm a better boss. I'm a better husband. I'm a better friend. I'm a better coach, all these things because I've taken some time for myself and recovered from this. And I think it's really good what you've done. And I'm so proud of you, man. And it's been awesome to watch your journey all this way and build this friendship and see you grow, man. So Spencer, we've been on here for over an hour, and I appreciate you taking the time and pouring into people with some of this stuff. If people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram or TikTok at the official Spencer Hart, Hart, or on Facebook, Spencer Lund Hart on Facebook.
Awesome, man. Any final things that you want to share with the audience before we jump off here?
Yeah, I just want to encourage everybody. Hopefully my story brings some encouragement to you, and just keep pushing. This journey it's difficult. If it was easy, there'd be a lot of competition, and be grateful that when there are challenges, that Google gives us challenges or SEO challenges out there, whatever agency challenges, those challenges are helping give some friction for other people that could just pop into this business and start their business. So, any challenges that are out there, figure out a way to push through it. It's most definitely worth it.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Thank you so much, Spencer. Appreciate you. All right, guys, that is our episode with Spencer Lund Hart, one of my great friends. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks a lot.